Hi, and welcome to another session of the Female Disruptors Virtual Summit, Unstoppable. My name is Lisa Beyer. I'm going to be your moderator for this session, and I'm excited to welcome Shar McBee. So you're about to learn 3 leadership principles based on yoga, one of my favorite topics, that will make you a better leader. So this category is called She CEO, and leadership is your love language. So our speaker, Shar McBee, was a broadcast journalist for CBS News. She was offered her own column for the New York Times Syndicate and her own TV show, but instead, she said no to that and went to a village in India and became a dishwasher in an ashram. I've always wanted to do that. But she learned yoga and meditation, which led her to her great work. She volunteered all over the world, organizing huge events and supervising thousands of people using the yogi principles. Her first book, To Lead is to Serve, was quoted by President Bush. What a testimonial. That quote is the essence of what all of her leadership trainings are about. So please welcome Shar McBee.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for being here. I'm flattered that you chose to attend this of all the wonderful sessions going on at this Female Disruptors Summit. As Lisa told you, I was a broadcast journalist at CBS News, and our anchorman at the time was Dan Rather. And he had his very first job as a broadcast journalist at a small radio station in North Texas near Fort Worth. But it was such a small station. He wrote the news, read the news, played the records. He was the DJ. He was the engineer. It was a one-person operation. So in order for Dan to have a lunch break, what he would do is put on one of those old LP records of a local preacher giving a sermon. And it lasted an hour. So he would put that on and then he could go out to lunch. One day he's down at the local Dairy Queen and someone came running in. You better get back to the station immediately. You're in big trouble. And what had happened was, if you know this about those LP records, they're grooves, and there's an arm and a needle, and the needle goes round and round. But sometimes that needle gets stuck, and then the record plays the same thing over and over and over until you move the needle. And that's what happened that day. The needle had gotten stuck, and the radio station was broadcasting the preacher saying the same 3 words over and over for 20 minutes. Go to hell. It was such a horrible situation for him. But what the point of this, I feel, for you is that sometimes just a tiny shift can make a huge difference. And what you're going to learn from me today I'd like to share with you 3 leadership principles that they only require you to make a tiny shift. It's not something you're going to have to learn a new language to understand or go away and get a PhD in it. Just a tiny shift will make a huge difference. So here's the first leadership principle. To lead is to connect. The word yoga actually means to connect, to yoke in Sanskrit. And we know in a leadership role, we have to connect with our people, with ourselves, etc. But I want to tell you one way that I learned so much from this one situation years ago. I was mentoring a man. He hired me as his mentor, and I was helping him prepare a speech. And it was weak, very weak, limp. He just didn't have it. Just out of frustration, I said, well, stand in the warrior pose and practice this. You know, the warrior pose where you put, and he did, and it got better. It definitely was better, but it still wasn't it. He just didn't have it. So I said, you were given that big body, use it to serve. And he looked like a Picasso painting going into alignment. He just completely came together, and he was really happy. I was thrilled. He went home. The next day, his wife called me. What did you do to him? And I said, I don't know. What are you talking about? And she said, he came home transformed. And then she explained that all his life, he has been afraid that people are afraid of big Black men. And she said he spent his whole life trying to make himself look small so people wouldn't be afraid of him. And she said, when you said you were given that body, use it to serve, it changed everything. And he actually went on to become the CEO of an international organization after that, worldwide. I've never forgotten it, because here's the small shift I'd love for you to make in terms of connecting, is to connect to yourself, who you are. We have to go there first. We're all trying to get connections on LinkedIn and social media, and we go to events and things, but if we're not connected to ourselves, and he did something that we as human beings always do, we have a problem. And then we find a solution, but then the solution becomes the problem. In his case, his problem was he thought people were afraid of him. So his solution was to make himself look small, but making himself look small was the problem for him. So to lead is to connect. And the thing is, so many of us have this imposter syndrome. We're afraid to be who we actually are. I had it when after I wrote my first book, To Lead is to Serve, I was invited to speak at a lot of conferences because the book was successful. And so I would be the keynote speaker at all these conferences. And then people started saying to me, well, you're a leader, you speak on leadership, you're a leadership expert. What about this method of leadership and this? Do you know this person's method and that one? And I was like, I got that imposter syndrome. I just thought, oh no, I don't know any of this. I started trying to memorize, learn those things. And then one day I woke up and said, wait a minute. I don't know all those methods. I'm not an expert in leadership. I'm not a professor in it, but I know this method. I learned this. It worked fantastically for me. So I can just share with you what worked for me. So to lead is to connect. People who take my mentor, that I mentor often ask, they come to me and they say, I know I'm destined to do some great work. I wanted to do this great work. And I tell them something that I'm going to tell you right now. In order to find your great work, do the work in front of you greatly, and it will lead you to your great work. So to lead is to connect. The second one is, before we go to the second one, I want to give you a yoga thing. And I want to share with you something this is something really simple. It's an exercise I hope you'll do as often as you remember it. And it's part of the warrior pose. But when you do the actual warrior pose and you open your arms up, anytime that you just open the space under your arms, it starts alleviating depression. So just that is a fantastic thing. But I want to give you the most important part. You can put your arms down. I don't want you to get sore. But I want to give you the most important thing, and this is something you can do at your desk all the time, is the most important part, in my opinion, of the warrior pose and most of the standing poses is this. On your back, you have a trapezius muscle. It's shaped like a triangle. It goes from the bottom of the base of your neck all the way across to your two shoulders and down your back. And those muscles connect to the spine. So, and the thing, there are 8 limbs of yoga. The part that we all think about yoga as the physical part, that's called hatha yoga. That's just 1/8 of all of the yoga. But the word hatha means sun, moon, which is opposites. And a lot of people will tell you that yoga is about stretching. It's not. Think of a rubber band. If you just stretch it, it's worthless. It has to be flexible. And it's the same thing with all the muscles in our body. They have to be able to both reach out and pull in at the same time. So what I'd like you to do right now is sit up straight and picture your two shoulders reaching out, widening that, right? And at the same time, picture the trapezius muscles pulling in along your spine, right? And just breathe in, breathe out, okay? What this will do for you, if you do this as often as you can, this method of pulling the muscles in along your spine and at the same time reaching out, it will prevent you from looking like those people who spend all day, every day hunched over a computer. And then they look the same. So to lead is to connect. It also, when you do this, what I just told you to do, it makes it easier for you to breathe. It makes more space for your lungs, which is refreshing and energizing, et cetera, et cetera. All right, the second one, to lead is to listen. And what I want to offer you are 3 ways of listening. We all know, we've all been told you have to listen to people when you're talking to them. And it's true. But I want to give you 3 ways, kind of little different shift on it, small shift that made big differences for me and brought a lot of success. So I'd like to share them with you. So the first one is, I was in Hawaii organizing a big event, and I had so much to do. And I saw this man coming in I could see him through the window, that he was going to come in and wanted to talk. And I thought, oh no, I have my to-do list is as long as my arm. I don't want to talk to him. But for some reason, I was flexible enough that I sat down and listened to him. And he's just chattered on and on for a half an hour. He was telling me how much he loved this organization, how much he had done for his family, et cetera, et cetera. And he talked. After about 30 minutes, he wound down. And then he said, well, what are you doing? And I didn't want him to start talking again. So I just casually said, oh, I'm trying to get an article in the paper. And he said, oh, you want an article in the paper? He picks up the phone and he calls the owner of the newspaper. And he and I go straight down to the owner's office. And what I had actually been doing was, I had spent the last 3 weeks trying to get a particular reporter to write an article, but I wanted it to be before the event. How many times have you read about something or heard about something afterwards and thought, oh, I wish I'd known? So I wanted her to do it in advance. And she was, not responding that very well. But so I get down with this man, we go down and I tell the owner the story. He said, that sounds interesting. What do you want? And I said, I want this particular reporter to write an article before the event. The owner picks up the phone, says, send in this woman reporter. She came in. If you don't think she was stunned to see me sitting, the woman that had been hounding her, sitting in the owner's office. But she wrote, and we got a huge article, like half page in advance. And I thought about it so many times, how 3 weeks of telling her why got me nothing, and 30 minutes of listening to this man. And so here's what I've come to use this image for myself, and I've used it so many times since, and so many people. I mean, I'm talking thousands and thousands of people, and it works. So here's the thing: picture a cup. So I have this cup, and it's been sitting on for a couple of days, and it had coffee, cream, and sugar, so it's kind of growing hairs over, over it. And you come and you want to offer me some fresh, squeezed, organic orange juice. But can you pour to my cup? No, you have to let me empty my cup first, clean it out before I can receive. So here's the secret to this kind of listening. Listen first. Make sure you know how important whatever it is you have to say is. Listen first, because they have to empty their cup. That man, because I let him talk for half an hour, he could hear me. And it made sense. So listen first, let people empty their cup. The second way of listening that, I've seen, and I learned this my mentor. Oh, I had this wonderful mentor who taught me about fundraising, how to raise money for good causes. And one of the things that happened to her, I watched this, the Venice Family Clinic here in Santa Monica, and the Venice Family Clinic is Venice Beach here. And they needed doctors. They had only one doctor that volunteered a half a day. And they came to her, my mentor, and said, could you help us recruit doctors? We need more doctors. We actually need like 500 doctors, and we have one half day. And she took it on, and everybody told her, oh, you'll never find, where are you going to find 500 doctors? Dream on, you know. And but she didn't listen to the naysayers. And she created an event that I'll tell you about some other time that just was so successful that she got her 500 doctors. And the last time I talked to her before she died, she told me that they now had over 600 doctors, and the Venice Family Clinic is the largest, free medical care in the world. So don't listen to naysayers. So, I had to be flexible to listen to that man that day. You also have to be flexible to not listen when people are bad-mouthing your ideas or your plans or your dreams. And then the third way to use listening is something that I learned in a really interesting way. I was sitting in a hotel in New York City waiting. I think someone was going to come and meet me or something. And I was in the lobby, and there were a bunch of us sitting there. And it was me and 8 men. And we were just chatting, whatever, sitting there. And Warren Beatty walked by. Now, you may or may not know who Warren Beatty is, but picture a combination of Tom Hanks and Ryan Reynolds, today or something. Warren Beatty was the Hollywood star at the time, the biggest deal going. And so he walks by, and he walks by again. Then he pulls a chair into the circle. And only to me, not to the men, he said, I don't know you. I'm Warren Beatty. And I said, I know who you are. And then he said, would you like to have dinner with me tonight? And I thought, he doesn't know me from Adam. He's just showing off in front of, there's 8 men and 1 woman. He's just showing these other 8 men that he can get the woman in the group. So I said, no, thank you. And then in like 2 seconds, he got up and walked away. But 3 months later, one of the men in that group called me, and he was the news director at CBS News. And he said, when I saw how you handled Warren Beatty, I knew I had to hire you. And that's how I got my job. So that way of listening was, we have to listen to our intuition. We have to. And the other people were like, you're crazy, you turned down Warren Beatty. No, so those 3 ways of listening. So it's be flexible. And the yoga pose that I love to use with this one is Bardwajana, the twist. So let's do this one. Sit up straight again. Now in this, when you're doing a twist of any kind, the benefits are it actually is it works, it improves your digestion. It's kind of a natural detox because you squeeze toxins out of your spine, when you do this exercise. But I want you to remember this about it. You want to go more up than sideways. Like in your career, you want to rise up more than go sideways. And it's the same with the twist when you do Bardwajana. So pick up your left arm right now. Just pick up your left arm. And I'd like you to put it across your body to the knee. If you can do this comfortably, don't hurt yourself. And then you're going to use that as leverage. And then what we're going to do is we're going to twist. But here's another point to this. Not only do you want to go more up than sideways, you always want to keep your head aligned with your heart. So a lot of people just twist their neck around. What I want you to do is keep your head aligned with your heart. And we'll first twist at the waist. So just pull yourself around, keeping your head aligned with your heart. All right. Now, breathe in, rise up. Okay. Twist up your shoulders. Pull around a little bit. Okay. Breathe in, rise up. And now you can turn your head. Turn your neck around. All right. Come back. Take your other hand, put it across to your knee. Yeah. All right. And you're going to use that as leverage. So try to keep that arm straight if you can. And again, remember, keep your head aligned with your heart, and you want to rise up more than you want to go sideways. So breathe in, rise up, twist at the belly button level, just that, keeping your head aligned with your heart. Okay, breathe in, rise up, twist at the shoulders. Breathe in, rise up, and now you can twist your neck around. Okay, so that is Bhardwajana, the twist. And now the final leadership principle, and really just see, can you see how these are all things you can do? You could do that at your desk. And you immediately feel better. I'm assuming that you do right now, but okay, the final one. To lead is to laugh. But I wanted to tell you, I'm starting a group mentoring program that is to make it more affordable for people that, to do it as a group. And I'll follow up, I'll let you know about that. But to lead is to laugh, and it's all things like this, simple things we can do. To lead is to laugh. There was a Gallup poll where they asked who are the most fondly remembered ex-presidents, and the one that came out way ahead of all the other ex-presidents was Ronald Reagan. And then this man named Gerald Gardner, he wrote a book called All the President's Wits, and he counted how many times different presidents had used humor in their speeches. And the one that had like 70% more humor than almost every other president was Ronald Reagan. And so this man that wrote the book said, so what does this mean? That in order to be a popular leader, you have to be able to tell a joke. And he didn't answer the question, but Confucius did. Confucius, who lived 500 years before Christ, said this, that the joyous mood is infectious and brings success. Intimidation will work sometimes, but not for long. On the other hand, when hearts are won by friendliness, people will take on all hardships for you, even death itself. So great is the power of joy over people. So if Confucius is right, then the harder our work is, the more we have to lighten up. So these are your assignments. Just remember, to lead is to connect. To lead is to listen. And the harder things get, remember this, to lead is to laugh. And maybe at next year's Female Disruptors Summit, we can talk about to lead is to serve, my favorite.
I love that, Shar. I love all of those lessons, and warrior is one of my favorite and most empowering poses. I think I say that somewhere in my bio. So thanks for sharing this connection between leadership and yoga. And, I just think it's a practice that we all have to look at and how it's going to influence our outcomes. Any last words of wisdom, or you mentioned a program that you have that you want to share, and then we will sign off.
Oh, that's great. Thanks. Yeah, I just feel that so many women today have this imposter syndrome, which I suffered from. And they're stuck a little bit. Like they have something great to offer to they want to offer their great work, but they're stuck a little bit. So I decided to start this group mentoring program that people could actually afford. And I'm excited about it. So thank you.
Well, we will share it when you share it with us, with the female disruptors community for sure. And I think I might even sign up, even founder of Female Disruptors can have imposter syndrome. I suffer from it all the time. So even when I'm going to be doing my intro today, I'm going to be like, I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy. So
No,
I got to
no.
talk myself out of it. Right. But I mean,
Yeah.
that as an example is that it's just no matter what you feel that imposter syndrome at some point or another, it's normal.
Yeah. You started the Female Disruptor Summit. So
Oh, yes, I know.
you
Yes,
are doing your great work. You
yes.
are, Lisa.
Yeah, and you know what? We had an interview where you shared a similar that same point, and I remember that when I'm doubting myself, I just think, what did Shar say? Just know that just follow your great work and just do your great work every day or every minute. That's all you can do. That's all I've been doing. So everybody listen to Shar. I do, and it definitely helps. So Shar, thank you so much for being a female disruptor. And I just want to say namaste to you. Thank you for being in our life.
Thank you.